House Community Gathering Candidate Conversation, sponsored by Clifton Forge Main Street. We have 3 candidates this evening who are running for 2 open seats on the Clifton Forge Town Council. Non-incumbent Michael Foster and incumbents Jeff Irvine and Carl Shorty Wolfe Jr. We ask that everyone turn their phones off and put them away so we can have a conversation with no distractions. We have a number of questions that have been submitted prior to this evening, and a volunteer is reviewing any questions that you have brought tonight. We have so many questions that we will not get to all of them, so we will try to cover as many as we can. The goal of our candidate conversation is to provide information about you, our candidates, and your thoughts so that Clifton Forge voters will be better informed when they go to the polls. We have a selection of questions that we will ask you, either all of you, the same question or a specific question for a specific candidate. We have questions that may ask 2 or 3 points. We will not have follow-up questions during the hour you are on the stage. When you are done with this part of the conversation, we will invite the candidates to exit the stage for continued informal conversation with attendees in the audience. On stage, you will each have 2 minutes to respond to the question. We will enforce that time limit. So when you have 30 seconds left on your 2 minutes, Mac will hold up a card for you to see, and you may quickly complete your sentence. I ask the audience to remain respectful and to listen carefully and to refrain from excessive exuberance for or against a particular candidate. I ask the candidates to focus on what you believe. The purpose of this conversation is to present your own position. So, we will begin with an introduction from each candidate that should last no longer than 1 minute. Our question, starting with Mr. Foster, is why will you make a good council member for Clifton Forge Town Council?
Thank you. While I am not from here, I grew up in a small town in Montana. I was the son of a small business, family-owned business. Growing up, learned very quickly that to make a difference in a community, you have to be a world-class listener. And my father taught me with his actions through many, many years of being in public service. And so I believe that I will be a good candidate, primarily because I'm involved, I listen, I have ideas, but I'm willing to listen to anybody who brings any ideas forward.
Thank you. Mr. Irvine?
Thank you. Well, I think I'd be a good candidate. I have 13 years experience on council as of this election. I go to people, I go to the citizens, I talk to them, I ask them what they want, what they like, our policies, I talk to them, and I just get out and ask. I hope I'm a people person, but some are different on that a little bit. I have been your mayor for 5 years. I've been your vice mayor for 2. Again, I like to go out. I like to serve the people. Like Mr. Foster said, I listen. We have new ideas. I come up with ideas because I listen to the citizens of town. They're the most important, and that's who elects me. That's who I work for. And that's who I try to listen to.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wolfe?
Why would I be a good candidate? Well, I love Clifton Forge, and I want to see the best of Clifton Forge. I remember about 15, 20 years ago, me and my wife went to Clifton Forge, and we said, we would never live in this one-horse town. Well, we moved here, and we fell in love with this place, and we would never move back to Covington. So, I've been on council for 4 years. We've accomplished a lot. I'm thinking about $8-point-some million in grants we've done, and the treatment plant is, we have the best water in the state of Virginia. I don't know if you know it or not, but above our dam, we have no septic tanks, no caps. The water runs into that dam that we drink is really clean. And I redid a whole lot of houses in the town.
Thank you very much.
Right.
All right, so now starts our 2-minute per candidate questions, starting with Mr. Foster, and then we'll make our way down the line as well. In general terms, what is your vision for the town of Clifton Forge? In your mind, as a town, where are we and where are we heading?
I think in the not too distant future, Clifton Forge will be an even more vibrant community. We moved here 2 years ago because we saw the opportunity for it to be a growing community and a thriving community. My vision for it is for it to have all of the storefronts on Main Street and Ridgeway filled with businesses. That is the number one priority that I have been discussing with anybody that would listen for about the last 18 months. There are statutes on the books that will allow us to enforce that. And my commitment is that not only will I push to enforce the regulations that are on the books, but also to work with our local representatives who go to Richmond and represent us in Richmond, because one of the biggest challenges to making progress to get vacant buildings occupied historically has been that I believe it was in the mid-1970s when the law was put in place that you could charge someone to be on the vacant store registry, but it's $150 a year. And clearly that is not an amount that will be enough of an incentive to get some of these building owners off the dime to either sell the business to someone who will develop it or to develop it themselves. So that's my vision.
Thank you. Mr.
I'd like to see Clifton right now is growing. We're going in the right direction. Are we perfect? No, but no town city's perfect, as I know of. I want to see Clifton have, and I think we got to work more with Allegheny County, Covington, and surrounding governments to, get jobs here. We got land behind Kroger. We got land. We don't own land behind Kroger, but there's land there for to make something out of. We have land behind the old BP station in Cliftondale, Allegheny County does. Allegheny County and Covington are now working on a pad that will bring, hopefully, jobs to the area. It don't matter if it's in Allegheny County or Covington. People's going to come, if it's in Allegheny County, they will come to Clifton to eat, drink, get gas, or whatever. We need that. Clifton is a small town. We don't have a lot of land to do things with, but we can work with our neighbors. Covington and Allegheny counties are A1 for this. They work together for this pad, which is tremendous for the area. I like to see more businesses, more jobs. Delinquent buildings, like Mr. Foster said, needs to be upgraded, fixed, and new businesses in. Clifton Forge is on the right path. With this team we have as council and the right team at the courthouse, I think we're moving in the right direction. We do have some things we need to work on, and we will work on them. But Clifton, to me, is doing fine. It's going in the right way, and I hope to keep it that way.
Thank you. Mr. Wolfe?
Clifton Forge. My vision is to the storefronts. Yeah, I think Chuck and I have talked about getting grants to renovate the tops of all these stores, so we have downtown living where you could, I sat up there one time on the street and there was a guy playing a saxophone upstairs across the street, and I said, wouldn't it be great to live on a flat and just walk down the stairs and you'd be downtown? So that is one of my visions, is to get these storefronts, get upstairs, get them renovated, get grants and get them renovated so that we can have downtown living, and people can just walk downtown. And one of the incentives is that I want our children and our grandchildren to stay here. You know, and I know people who are driving back and forth to run a carpool just to live here, so they don't have to move to Roanoke. You know, and it's just a wonderful town. Crime rate is almost zero. You know, I tell people this is one of the places you can walk downtown at 1 o'clock in the morning and not worry about getting mugged or shot. And I would like to keep it like that. I am pro-police. I believe giving them more authority and so they can enforce the laws that we have on the books. And when you arrest them and they get turned back loose, that's not doing nothing. They come right back and do the same thing. So, you know, my vision is to keep Clifton Forge boom and keep it crime-free.
Thank you. All right, starting with Mr. Irvine. What do you consider the two most significant challenges currently facing Clifton Forge, and what is your action plan for those challenges?
Like I said, I think the most important is jobs and housing. And we're working on the housing now. I've been on for 13 years, as I said, and all of them 13 years we've came never so close to selling the old school building as we are now. Me and Chuck just visit Martinsville with the developers and seeing what they've done with the building in Martinsville. And if it happens here, it will be tremendous for Clifton Forge. We're selling buildings, buying buildings, selling buildings, and making new businesses out of them. I think that'll help Clifton. We just kind of keep moving forward. We got to keep. What I'm going to do is just keep the team together, keep moving forward, and add housing, businesses, and jobs.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wolfe.
Like I said a minute ago, housing is a big deal here at Clifton Forge. You know, the ones in Lowmore, they don't even finished yet, and they're already rented full. You know, again, I was telling you about renovating, getting grants and renovate the upstairs so people can live on flats and move downtown. You know, I've been here 11 years, and I came here with the Clifton Forge Women's Club. They were struggling financially and was struggling even keeping the grass mowed. Now they're up and booming. We have a win-win situation now. We've been there 13 years. We fixed up the building, paid the utility. They use it, we use it as a church. And then I've renovated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 houses that were condemnable and are back on the tax ticket. I fixed them up, sold them to people, and 90% of the people I sold them to from out of town. You know, people in the inner city are scared. They're looking for a safe place to live, and they're selling their homes and moving here because they can work from home. You know, and first and foremost, you know, again, keeping the fire department. I want the fire department to keep being paid. If you don't have a paid fire department, people who do the fire department have to, like,
You still have 30 seconds.
people who are paid are there 24 hours around the clock. When you get a call and there's a fire, they're on the scene. But if they're volunteer, they're at home. They have to leave their home, go to the fire department. Fire to engine, can houses burn up by then? So a big deal with me is keeping a paid fire department on staff all the time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Foster.
I think about a couple of different things. I completely agree with everything that's said about housing and keeping the crime rate down. One of the aspects of a couple of the workshops that I attended here at community gatherings, one of the other big items on people's lists is and we're talking about it during the next meeting, how do we promote Clifton Forge, and you know, what kind of branding do we do, what kind of marketing do we do? And one of the things that catches people when we start talking about that is, what about lodging? And the lack of lodging and availability of lodging rooms. There are a number of wonderful Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts in town, but for a larger presence, for more lodging. So I think that is one of the challenges. Having spent the last 14 months on the comprehensive plan update, one of the other aspects of it is just being able to promote our roads, our trails, our parks, and get people to really understand how great of a town this is. And that's not a huge challenge. It's just something that we really need to focus on going forward. So I would say, housing, as they had indicated as well, but lodging and continuing to get better at telling the Clifton Forge story.
Thank you. So starting with Mr. Wolfe, Clifton Forge currently has multiple slogans: Railroad Town, the little town that could, scenic, busy, friendly, etc. What are your thoughts considering a consistent message to market the town with, and what would that message be?
That message would be, we have a college that no one else has. And I think it really needs to be promoted, but again, it always goes back to housing. We have a forestry department, and people in Newport News who wanted to take a forestry class, they come up here and had nowhere to stay, so they went to South Carolina or Penn State. So the college needs some type of housing for people. I asked someone one time, Dabney and Liberty University both started the same year. What did they do that we didn't do? Why are they boomed and we aren't? And I think our college needs to be promoted somehow. If you get people going to school here, you get the families coming here, you get them buying businesses here, moving here. So I think the college needs to be really promoted in this area. We have something that's a jewel that no one else has. We have a college, and we have no place for students to live.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Foster.
I think a possible tagline would be the small town with a heart the size of a locomotive. There are so many determined people in this town, and there's such a rich railroad history in this town. Volunteerism here at Clifton Forge is off the charts. I see so many opportunities and so many people taking advantage of opportunities to volunteer and give back. And I think that shows the size of the heart of the people in this community. So I think that we could definitely play on something like that.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Irvine.
I like the one we have now, scenic, busy, and friendly. You got all the scenery, scenic, busy, the town is getting busy, and I hope everybody's friendly. The only thing I would like to see changed in the scenic, busy, friendly emblem is the colors. I would like to go to our old high school colors, green and gold.
Okay. Thank you. All right, starting with Mr. Foster. Through the eyes of the council member, how would you rank the way our town looks from 1 meaning needs intensive improvement to 5 meaning the town looks great just the way it is?
I would say we're probably a 3. When friends from out of town come to town, they are immediately impressed by the people. We've had so many people who've come to see us at the tavern from out of town saying, this is a really cool little town. But what about all of those vacant storefronts is always the kind of the second part of that question. So, I think there's a lot of potential. As I said, when we moved here, we felt the momentum that was coming. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that Martha and Wendy had started something that was genuinely a big part of the community. And having spent the last 2 years talking to people virtually every night, and getting to know people from the town, getting to know people from the county, it's really special, and I think that's the key.
Thank you. Mr. Irvine?
You read it.
Yeah. All right. Through the eyes of a council member, how would you rank the way our town looks from 1 meaning needs intensive improvement to 5 meaning the town looks great just the way it is?
I agree with Mr. Foster. I think it's a 3. But I think it could be a 4. I don't think we'll ever get to a 5. I've never been to a town or city that's, let me just say, like the Wizard of Oz, or whatever, Emerald City. I mean, we're not going to make that. Nobody is. I think we can make a 4. We can make it by our codes, and this council has upped its codes, upped its way it's going, and we're going to enforce them. I think it's not only downtown. We need to work in our neighborhoods. We have an older population. We need a program that will help the older people work on their properties, somewhere, somehow, to help them. If it's just getting a young guy to mow the grass for them, or rake leaves, or something like that. But this is an older population, and we need somebody to help them. Downtown is your main business, but the heart of your town is your citizens and the properties.
Thank you. Mr. Wolfe.
I think it's a 4. You know, I own 2 buildings downtown, and both of them are operational. Our coffee shop shut down, but released it to a fellow who's putting some trains in there. Going to kids can work the trains and eat ice cream and whatnot. But how do you go back, people are buying these buildings for $30,000 and $40,000 and sell them for the junk. They own them. How do you buy them from them? How do you force them to sell? You know, how do you fix that problem of downtown with these people who own these buildings who refuse to do anything with them? You can't. You know, I think you could beautify Clifton Ford's Garland, like the old lady building. He hasn't put nothing in it, but he's dressed the storefront for it. It looks beautiful. I mean, he really made the front of the store look better. I don't know what it's going to do with it, but it's hard to do things sometimes when people own the property and you can't force them to sell it. You know, I bought my coffee shop for $25,000 10 years ago. But I redid it, fixed it up, and I think on the outside it looks good. You know, the inside looks fairly well. But that's a big deal with me. I think we're a 4, but how do we get to a 5 when we don't own the buildings? How do you switch that code? Or how do you give them an incentive? You give them a grant, a matching grant. Say, here, we'll match this grant. And if you spend $15,000, we'll give you $15,000. I don't know how you get to a 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Irvine, what is your opinion on our current code enforcement status? How do you view our current ordinances? And what is your honest opinion on enforcing codes for all residents of Clifton Forge?
I think our code enforcing is pretty good. I mean, you can't do but so much. The code enforcer takes the person to court, the judge lets them off. We take them to court, the judge lets them off. I mean, we don't have much say on that. Our code enforcer, the last one, Brad, I really liked. I thought Brad was doing a well of a job. He was enforcing the code. He was fair and even. And I think Brad, I don't know Brad yet, he's just started within a month. But I think he'll do the same. He has a different way of doing it. He's talked to me about what he's going to do. I think it'll work. Like I said, this council has put in new codes. We're always talking of new codes and how to enforce them. But we need help. We need help from the judge. Every time we go, I mean, we have one bad one on I ain't gonna say the street, but everybody knows it. And we take him to court, and it's yard work. And the judge believes it. I mean, we have our hands tied. But I think, honestly, we're doing a great job in code enforcing. It's only so much we can do, but you need the judge to enforce his side of it.
Thank you. Mr. Wolfe, same question.
Well, Brad wasn't nice. He sent me a couple letters. So, you know, I understand people, sometimes their grass gets up and stuff, they get behind. I forget I own certain pieces of property, and then I get a letter in the mail. But I think Brad did a great job. me, you're trying to take me to court. If the code enforcement could make a phone call, say, we really appreciate that you live in this town, but we notice your grass is messed up, would you please make the phone call first? And that's the only thing I'd like to see added to the code enforcement. And then if you don't do it, you get that letter. You know, when I first got my first letter from the code enforcement, I'm like, I'm an accountant, and he loved me a lot. And I got to think, well, my grass is tall. He's doing his job, you know. It wasn't intentionally that the grass, and I think 95% of the people in this town don't intentionally let the grass grow, okay, or let trash build up. And most of them, if you just make a phone call, would comply, and you wouldn't have to send them there. So, but I think a code enforcement does. It'll go back to when you take it to court. You know, they asked the guy, judge asked, how long you need to clean this up? He said probably 2 weeks. He said, I'm gonna give you 2 months. How do you deal with that? How do you enforce the code when the judge is not on your side?
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
I do think that one of the most difficult jobs in this town is to be the code enforcer. I got to know Brad pretty well. We have a perfect example in the house right next door to ours that has now been condemned. But Brad was always open to ideas. I think one idea would be to actually prioritize the code list so that, you know, if you have an infraction where your building is not safe, as opposed to your grass is long, that there be significant attention paid to, you know, the safety of the buildings that we have in town. And that's not a dig at anybody. I think that we could do some hard thinking about that and being able to enforce that the way it could be. But I know I look forward to getting to know the new code enforcer and sharing ideas with them about what can be done. I know that based on Chuck's comments on Tuesday, that he is going to be approved as a building inspector as well, which I think will be huge because I think part of building maintenance, thank you. That some of the buildings that are in bad shape are rentals, and being able to have someone that can go into that property and assess the safety of that building, I think it would be a huge step forward. But I think that it is a very important job. I think that the codes on the books are good. Maybe just need to be tweaked a little.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wolfe. As a council member, how much time do you think you should spend reviewing ordinances so they fit the needs of the community?
How much time I would spend? I'm trying to think. I think you wouldn't have to review them a very long time. The ordinances, most of the ordinances on the book are readable, and we know most of them, a lot of the main ones by heart. To change them, I don't know of any way to change it. I mean, you're talking about time. An hour a week maybe. Read over until back home. That's what you're asking. How long?
That's how it was phrased, yes.
Yeah. My wife told me I don't always answer the question. I go around it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Foster.
I am not completely, but I am very not knowledgeable about the ordinances. And I can see spending a significant amount of time between now and January 1st really digging into the ordinances. I had the pleasure of going through a 150-page comprehensive plan, page by page, and revising that and working with a team to do that. I am very interested in understanding the nuances of all of the ordinances and really beginning to, because I think that as a town council member, you have to have a pretty good knowledge of what those ordinances are, so that if somebody asks you a question, or if somebody questions something that the police force is doing, or some questions something that, the code enforcer is doing, you can defend that by saying, here's what the statute says. And being able to do that in that time, I think reflects well on the town council itself, as well as I think it reflects well on the town. I think that Chuck and the team at Town Hall and the facilities group are doing an amazing job. I think that a lot of the backhanded questions that are, that don't have the right details around them, I think that the town council should be very active in being able to answer those questions very directly.
Great, thank you. Mr. Irvin.
Well, the question really didn't state if it's an ordinance that's on the books or an ordinance that we're getting ready to put in. If it's an ordinance on the books, some of them probably spend 50 hours on because it's the same one for different people. A new one, probably I'll spend 10, 15 hours, and that is not me just reading or going over it. It's talking to the citizens, seeing what they think of it. I'm all over town, I meet people, Kroger's, dollar stores, and I say, hey, have you heard about the new ordinance? What do you think? And that's how I learn from the ordinance, whether if it's a new one, whether we need it or whether we like it. I also learn from the town manager, the rest of the council, how they feel. Every one of the council members are from a different walk of life. So you can learn from each other. So I learn from them and listen to what their side of it is. Even if I don't like the ordinance, I listen to the town manager and the rest of the council and go by the majority.